Hello and welcome. Hope you all like the new intro.
I
'Cause
love the intro.
I
That
absolutely
was
love it.
awesome. Yeah.
I do. I really do. It's just it.
Oh my
For those who don't know, it's a combination of all 5 podcasts that I'm doing are going to be doing. So rather than having different intros, get all the intros, put them into one, a little bit of everything, put the better music in there. And the thing is, the start of it, you think you're getting the normal intro, and then boom, there you go. So that's it. That's why I
love
did
it.
it.
And the
So,
clarinet, when it came in, I was like, that is the banger music, dude. That was a smash.
Good.
Outstanding.
I
Well
like
done.
Andy's an expert at making like these intros and everything and outros.
I've spent 3.5 years doing it and self-taught. So, yeah,
You're an
I enjoy
autodidact.
it.
That's called. Isn't that cool? It sounds like a dinosaur kind of. If dinosaurs were real, but they're probably not. And we could talk about it if you want.
Oh, yeah.
We
Please
have
go
to
ahead.
talk about the fact that dinosaurs aren't real.
Maybe aren't real. I don't know.
Maybe aren't real.
Are
But
your inner 5-year-olds ready to be crushed? You know,
But I did see a pterodactyl.
a dinosaur.
you may have seen a plesiosaur or something like that, you know, which
Yeah.
is different, right? But maybe
as
the
well.
story of the dinosaurs and all that probably isn't the way it went down. All dinosaur bones, actually, that you see in museums are absolutely not the thing that they pull out of the ground or they say that they do. They're all made from chicken bones from China. And the reason they give you is because they're radioactive from the radioactivity of the meteor strike. And so they actually won't let you see real dinosaur bones in the museum, and they're all fakes. So that would call into question, then why wouldn't they just craft a fake, you know? Or how many T-Rexes do you think they dig up, and look at how many museums have one, right? It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. The Natural History Museum in London had one. And then after about 10 years of knowing they had one, found out that, like you just said, it was fake.
Yeah.
It wasn't even chicken bones, it was resin.
Yeah,
Well,
so a myriad of
all
things. Chicken bone's one example. What's that?
Aren't they all resin? Like it's cast from the fossil. It's not the actual bone itself, right?
Yeah, but even that, so the bones themselves, what they may be showing you, and they did what was hilarious about this, a guy came on, paleontologist of his whole life, came on, old dude, hands behind his back, walking around a stage saying, man, yeah, TED Talk. He said, you know, we've been misidentifying dinosaurs, and they had some thousands of dinosaurs, but they go, you know, we had to really reduce this down to like a couple of hundred because we were misidentifying juveniles in between growth stages as different species of dinosaur. So if this sort of like mishap can occur, which is amazing, then, and you know, give it to science, right? But also there's a narrative to be pushed here. We know what the Smithsonian does with things, and that's a fascinating rabbit hole. If you guys haven't seen, you know, all of the testimony of them dumping things over ships and what they did in the Grand Canyon with the G.E. Kincaid stuff and all the mummies and things that he found in there, and Smithsonian comes in, it's gone. So the thought that your history is at all being properly represented is laughable at best. But when you really go down that rabbit hole, you start looking into amazing things, and it gets you to ask different questions that would lead you to think that maybe we're not on a ball spinning through space, and maybe this is a realm of sorts, and maybe there were other creatures and all kinds of things here. And you can look up these ancient realm maps, you know, these Mappa Mundis is what they're called, and they show all kinds of creatures. They show centaurs and all kinds of shit. So and you just look at things like what people are calling dinosaurs. Maybe it's a big cover up for dragon fossils or something like that. Now, dragons are a whole different story, right? And maybe some of them have wings, and maybe from a distance they look like what somebody would call a pterodactyl, but really it's a dope-ass dragon. Buddy of mine, Tyler Hansen, even talks about that all volcanoes actually are dragons that have died, and the inside of them erupting is the gases that they could use to combine and combust for their fire, actually combining and igniting as the body decomposes further. So it's fascinating things like this when you start reconsidering the possibilities of the realm, and then you start asking a lot of fun questions, right? So yeah, dinosaurs probably not at least what they're telling you. That's for damn sure.
Well, it's funny you should say that about dragons, because when I seen this thing, a quick version of a very long story, I'd be in the back garden sky watching, I turned around to come in, I looked up, something caught my eye, watched it fly across for about 30 seconds to a minute. I swore blind, I just seen a dragon. Didn't think, oh, it's a pterodactyl or anything like that. Straight onto YouTube and spent hours and hours and hours, and then ended up getting distracted because I found some other weird stuff on there and completely forgot about it. And that is the thing.
Yeah, there you go.
And then it was about 5-6 years later that I seen a CGI image on Facebook. I'm like, oh my God, that is what I seen. And it all come back to me.
Yeah, I've seen, something, right? You see some videos of some things flying around, but then there's these amazing stories. A buddy of mine, Ben Tejada Ingram, wrote. He's written a couple books. His more recent one is about lost worlds and things like this. And in that, he has a section on these massive eagles that were flying around the Philippines for a while, scooping up human beings and stuff. And there was a witness that saw this damn eagle that was massive. It was big enough to pick up a grown-ass man in the field who was working and be carried off. And he saw the whole thing happen like from a distance, but what's he going to do? It's all in the book. It's really interesting. But you think about things like that. Now, I'm not saying that shit couldn't be hiding. I'm not saying that there couldn't be government things that are happening like in Dulce, like Philip Schneider was talking about, where there's like chimeras and shit going on. I'm not saying it never existed in the first place and that we've all just been gaslit to think that this place is much different than it's being presented. That I 100% can, that's what I believe in. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And at that possibility, then, I mean, anything's real, right? Anything's happening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's a wild place.
Look, think about when you're just doing your own thing, minding your own business, more so in the dark. Sounds dodgy, but you know what I mean. You're not looking up, you're not looking down, you're just doing what you're doing. The amount of things that must go by that you're not seeing because you can't see in night vision.
Yeah, visible light alone, but our eyes, as far as light detection, as far as what we know light is, or the range of light, visible light. I mean, you've got infrared and ultraviolet that we just dump out at, and we can't see anything beyond that. And it's such a sliver, it's such a tiny little thing. And we're not like, we have like some of the worst as far as color recognition goes, eyesight here. When you look at a myriad of other creatures that run around here, they've got a scope. The night vision is on point. They can reflect that's called, damn it, I know this. Taptium lectum, and that's the thing that makes your eyes reflect. Like Vin Diesel in those movies when he was like a badass or whatever.
Oh, Pitch Black.
There you go. And so that thing, there's all sorts of advantages, but everything here biologically is like a give and take, right? So you may gain night vision, but you're going to be looking in the day. Your eyes are going to be more sensitive, right? And so just like everything, it's a give and take. And so you kind of we're grateful for what we have. And I think that just outside of all of those visual light spectrums is what Nicole's dragging up in these houses that she's spending time in with electronic devices and shit, dude. I think that it's all around, and I think that it's a good thing that our filter is perturbed enough for us to just like drive a car and stuff like that.
But that's true. It is all around because we don't have to go to a particularly haunted location to get activity. Like my house was built in the 80s, and I get activity here. Yeah. And what's up with this?
So what's up with the ghost thing? Do you see modern ghosts? Like, do you ever see a ghost wearing, like a Beyonce t-shirt or something like that? Why are they in old world gear,
I don't know. Like, is there like a time delay between when like they pass and they are able to communicate? I have no idea. We have had some more modern ghosts, but I'm thinking like 80s, 90s.
How could you tell? Did he have a keytar or what?
Exactly. He showed up with a keytar.
You rolled in. That's awesome.
Playing
See, I've always wondered that. Why do you not see anyone in modern clothing? Is it because when you pass and say the spirit, because I don't know, does pass on to this other time zone, time frame, it cannot get back until it's done what it needs to do, and then this time frame could be 150 years, 200 years, 1,000 years. I don't know. But do you know what I mean, though? There could be a time frame that it has to be in this other place or go to different places before it can come back here. And that's why we're seeing Victorian and Ghost School, Ghost College, Ghost Uni. Yeah. Ghost Apprentice.
To be beep devices and...
But it could be.
It could be any of that. It could just be the realm glitching. It could just be, a message for you to start asking some really interesting questions around here. It could just be the thing that pulls you in, pulls you into that things are not what are being presented here. And I think it works in a myriad of ways. It's all very subjective, and you're going to be attracted to one of it. You know, missing time, I've thought for a long time, is one of these things. I thought it's interesting that people have this concept of missing time, because we hear about the high technology of these entities, we hear about screen memories, we hear about all sorts of different reports. And if it is so, why are only a few cases having missing time? Why couldn't that time be replaced by a memory, or your inability to desire to recall that time, right? Like there are many ways that if your consciousness is being apprehended in this way, it doesn't make sense to me that they leave a gap of missing time on purpose, right? So I think that they do it on purpose. I think it's there so that you pull on the thread and investigate, right?
Yeah, but with you saying that about the missing time, maybe they do sometimes, not always, fill it in with a false memory.
Sure. Yeah. But why does anyone ever have missing time if they're able to fill it in with a false memory, right? Why would you ever allude to that you were there in the first place, or that somebody couldn't recall something at all? You just pop something in there, all bases covered. I mean, that's basic, just cover your ass type shit, right? But I think it's left on purpose for this reason. We give these intelligences sort of, I think, more credit. I had somebody on the show, and she was talking about when some entities walked through a portal on the side of her room, that they picked up a pen, I think a normal writing pen, and they were looking at it and they were like beating it on the table, and they were like taking bites out of it. And she was like, how do they not know what a pen is? You know? And so, but then I also think about Bud Hopkins' books, and how he, in the book Intruders, great book, guys. He talks about these males, I mean, case after case after case that were picked up. And this is in the chapter where he's talking about human hybridization and people holding their own hybrid babies and all kinds of weird shit. And he talks about male after male after male who was picked up, banged by a alien type creature or whatever. He was like, weird face, but nice tits. And that's what they all say, right? And so, and then he goes, but the damnedest thing, Bud, is he goes, I got a vasectomy, like 30 years ago or 20 years ago or something. And so all these dudes have had vasectomies. Like, how would they not be able to detect that before they go through all the trouble? You know what I'm saying? Is there a way, if they're that highly, now that may be a big assumption on my part, that I would give them more credit, but that's the point, right? Is that I think that we give these things, whatever this is, I think it's all one fucking thing, but I think we give these individuated pieces of this one thing way too much credit, and we offer it way too much of our powerful attention, which means that we just do anything it says, or we offered our power in the form of fear or something like this. But I think that really, when you look at stories like that, like they kind of come back to him, and Bud Hopkins writes about this. He was like, man, the guy came back, and the tall alien, he was like mad at me, and I could see it in his face. And he was mad at me because I'd had a vasectomy. He goes, and they just threw me out. Like they like throw him out, so they show emotion and that they bungled the thing, right? And so it's just interesting when you start considering that these things aren't as like, holy shit, amazing as a lot of people would like for you to believe that they are. So in that way, you'd offer a lot of power, throw it on a pedestal, something like that. They just maybe, chose not to go that far away from the steam engine, not do oil, and do a different method of technology, and just be more advanced in that way, but still be like dickheads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, they're still like sentient beings that make mistakes. And
if it's sentient at all, I mean, it seems like an intelligence, right? But I'm not convinced that it is, and I'm not convinced that it's a good intelligence as far as the occupant's concerned. But I do think that it's a motivating force. It's sort of a piece of the ether here that's meant to motivate you as an independent at a big pace to your mission, but also society as a whole with conversations like this. I think all of that shit, the bad, is a motivator. I don't call them lizard turds anymore. I call them motivators.
Why? That's so much better.
Yeah.
We're growing up a little bit, I feel,
Yeah. There's no fun in that, though, is there?
Nope.
Well, here's the thing. So what do we want, right? Do we want to continue to stick in the whirlpool and go around and around, and things are fucked up and they're never going to change? Or do we want to go, maybe we just look at it a little bit different, offer it a little bit different energy, and then move forward, which does kind of take the fun out of it. Just like finding out probably dinosaurs aren't real, and space wasn't real. And they're like, damn, man, your inner 5-year-old's just like, but the alternatives are way cooler, like way cooler.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into these alternatives a little bit.
We can, yeah. What do you guys think? So what is y'all's take on how far you want to go? We got chat going on. Everybody's being cool as shit. Thank you. And thanks for the correction on the tapistum lictum. He said it up there. I'm not pronouncing it properly.
So
Latin's a dead language for a reason. Anyway, so but thank you for the for the correct in there. But yeah, so I mean the realm is fascinating. I think we started talking about a little of that last time, right? A little flat earth stuff or little realm earth stuff or whatever.
Yes.
Are y'all
Yeah.
interested in that?
Of
Oh, yeah.
course. That's
But
Okay.
we have
I
to do
think.
psychedelics at some point.
Psychedelics? Okay.
At
Do
some
you want to
point.
do that first? Let's do that and come back to the
I
realm stuff.
wear my mushroom necklace.
Okay. Yes. Well, we can talk about psychedelics because, yeah, I want to know what you guys want to know about psychedelics. Let's do that. And then we'll come back to realm earth stuff.
I've never had any, and that is the truth. I've been offered, and I've just thought, at the time, I didn't want anything that I knew was mind altering because I didn't want to not have the control of what I have in this reality. So that's why I've never took anything like that.
What do you mean by
So-
control?
Because I know people that have had psychedelics and that, and they say this happens and that happens, and then when you start getting tired, it does not turns into a bad trip, but the bad stuff starts coming through. And one of my mates, he was actually driving home and he was getting chased by giant Mars bars. So they're like giant caramellos.
Was he a little overweight?
No,
Okay, that's
no.
interesting. He may
He's
just
like,
have some
he could not get home.
subconscious issue with giving himself permission to eat those things. It's pretty interesting. There's all sorts of it's all mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's why it's called psychedelic. It's a mind trip, man. This whole place, by the way, is that. This is just a real sort of focal version of it. I think it's a pretty directed focus version. I think you have a lot more. I'd like to say consistency, but because the realm is a lot more fluid when you're in psychedelics, and that's the whole thing. It shows you that perhaps that what you experience on a daily basis is really just a filter, right? And when you take psychedelics, you sort of retard that filter enough to where you get a glimpse into the possibilities of what's really going on, air quotes, depending on what state you're in, because the state you're in now is baseline, right? And so I think that what's really going on is whatever string on the massive instrument you're vibrating at the time, right? That's what's going on.
Yeah.
And so this changes with our interests. It changes with, all of the things that we're looking into currently that we offer emotion to and all of that. And then the realm, God, man, this place is fascinating. It just keeps ramping up ramping it up and throwing it out. And there's, astrological reasons for this as well. Pluto is about to go into Aquarius for the 20-year super thing that they were singing about and people dancing on the hill about and shit, but it's not going to happen until November 19th, something like that. So we get it floating back into Capricorn from 1st of September to the mid November there. Be mindful of your surroundings in that time. What this means is just take a deep breath. The realm has an algorithm that whenever the planets do this one thing, the realm will throw you some weird shit. Now we've got, I think, selection in there going on, and we have all sorts of other things. Guy Fawkes Day, right? You have remember the 5th of November. So you guys, there's a lot of interesting energies that are being played out here. And with that, just keep your wits and shits about you. You know what I mean? Now, psychedelics are a wonderful way to sort of bring up trauma. And so when you say bad trip, I mean, bad is subjective. Okay. So would you say that you have had times where you were really, really, really challenged that you considered bad in the moment, but afterwards, of course, hindsight were some of the most beneficial things you've ever experienced in your life?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Would you be willing to throw a few things that grow in cow shit in your face to experience that and possibly bring up some pretty challenging things that you haven't addressed yet? Because that's when it's going to. That's your bad trip you're referring to.
Yeah. So when I say bad trip, it's like in quotes, that's his take on it. But if I'd have known now what I knew, I was only like 19 when this was going on. So I didn't really know much about it all. But if
How old was he?
About 22, 23.
Okay.
Only
So
a few years older.
22's perspective, you have carried this. How old are you now?
51.
And that has been your impression of psychedelics, is the 22-year-old's impression from a 19-year-old's interpretation.
For a few years, it was. But once I started getting into this, probably about 15, 20 years ago, my concept of it all changed. It's like that was his perception. That wouldn't have been mine.
Yeah.
And then it's like, kind of regret not trying it. Do you know what I mean?
Nah, I don't have regrets, but I do know that I could see you going, wow, I can change my mind about things now and move forward and just change it,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
regrets and without being hard
100%.
on
Yeah.
myself for missing out on something. Because, it's set and setting, and the universe or whatever, the YO universe has a way of kind of setting this stuff up for you. And if it wasn't right at the time, it's not going to be right, but it sounds like now that you are being invited into that realm because of your curiosity. You will open the door yourself. That's how this place works.
Yeah.
We can give you some helpful pointers and things like that. I would caution you against altered states, simply in that Chris Matthew and I had a wonderful conversation on his show yesterday. He released it yesterday, and we talked about the realm and the possibilities. And he has been a big psychonaut for a long time. The last time I did mushrooms, because I put him down for a while, what pulled me out of retirement was marrying that guy, Chris Matthew, in Colorado a few weeks ago, about a month ago. So we go out there, we do it, pull out of retirement, have a great time, okay? But I'm not one who gets contacted by entities and demons and shit like that. I have seen entities on one trip. It was a DMT trip that I did 2-3 years ago, something like that. And it was wild. That was an entity. That was shit there. But this does not feel like that. It just feels, you get in again, this sense of hypersensitivity is the state that you reach with psychedelics. And why you would consider something a bad trip is because when you have trauma, any kind of trauma, when you're scared, when something bad, air quotes, happens, some bad shit from anything, right? You see something on TV, there's so much trauma, dude. And so whenever you get into a traumatic state, you can think of, if you have a mind and it's like a half circle here, your baseline is this little energetic being right here, and you're usually operating in this. You get a little excited, little sad, little excited, little sad, but you're pretty in this realm. When trauma occurs, it throws you into this hypersensitivity state, right? And when that happens, you are planting all sorts of neurons and all sorts of little, what I call thorns in those areas. And that's called your trauma, right? And after you come back to baseline, it doesn't mean that you're better. It means you got thorns over here that you can't get to and you can't access as easily. This is why getting worked up, getting into this state will access those things. It's going to make you cry. It's going to, because that's you pulling it out. That's you purging. It's just like everything here. The only way out is through. You can't bury those emotions. They're just going to be there. You know what I mean? They rot and they all kinds of shit. But, and psychedelics offered me the opportunity to grab all of that stuff from this hypersensitive state of hypersensitivity. And you grab those thorns and you just look at them, and they're scary as shit. They're little demons. They try and bite your face. And yes, man, they're gonna anthropomorphize into anything. And your pareidolia is gonna go nuts because, again, with hypersensitivity, you get access to colors you don't see all the time, sounds you don't hear in conjunction with one another. You get smells. Your hearing is insane. Like, because again, hypersensitivity. This is the fight or flight state, but you access it as well willingly, with intention, through psychedelics.
Yeah, totally get that. And the thing is, I was just going to say, and the stuff that the trauma or the bad stuff that has happened in the past, and this is going back to when Agnost was on, when he says you can alter your past, you can alter your timeline. I've gone back to that mentally and kind of like cleaned it all up, because now when I think back now, I've not, even though it's not bad stuff, but it wasn't good. That kind of like doesn't exist anymore. That it's been and gone and it's been thrown away. That isn't there. That doesn't exist for me. Does that make sense?
It does. And what you're doing is reinterpreting. This is alchemy. This is what the Philosopher's Stone is all about. It's not a physical turning lead to gold, any of that shit. It's within you. This is what this is. And this is a massive step in that process. What's fascinating as well, you talk to the coolest scientists talking about this stuff. It's called retrocausality. And this is what you do now can affect the past, and all of these kind of things, your future, all that kind of shit. And yes, your future is affected now, but it's bigger and cooler than that. And this is what sort of this childhood trauma is all about. You go back to that little 5-year-old version of you. You bring your awareness now to interpret the memory of that 5-year-old with it, just like you did with that 19-year-old from your experience now. You bring the wisdom of psychedelics to that 19-year-old part of you that still has apprehension. And you say, hey, we have new information, dude. I can update you, and this is what it's all about. Now, that physically will change you. Now, if you want to get woo-woo about it, then quantum-wise, some people will say that it's as if it never happened, right? It's not you can heal it in such a way that it's as if it never happened. So it means that you're kind of time traveling at that point. You go back to that 5-year-old little version of you, and it just doesn't exist as a memory for you because it doesn't affect you. But the strength that you needed to get over that and to visit it does exist. And that's what you replace it with if you're able. And this is where you get to the, there's a great song lyric by a band called Groove is Malt. It's like a band from the mid 2000s. They were just awesome. Anyway, it said, even the scars forget the wounds. And really think about that, right? So the wound at the time is what we're talking about, okay? And you're going to have a scar for a little bit, but you're going to go, man, I don't even know where I got that shit. You've probably got a few on you, right? But at the time, it was enough to damage you, damage your vessel enough to make a damn lasting scar. But this is where I think all the healing is the strongest, man, because then it's just a realization that it's up to you. It's an interpretation of how you see reality. That's it.
Yeah, completely get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like I said, I go back and you kind of like, you don't relive it, but you get the emotions and even the smell. It's like, what's it called? Nostalgia. You get that nostalgic feeling. And you go back and you kind of like, and it was since Ag was on when he mentioned about doing it, I was like, that's kind of what I've been doing, but didn't realize it was a quantum side to it all. So I started doing it like when I said, like we were doing the meditation earlier, and I said I normally do it for like half an hour, and that's kind of like what I do with that, clear all the bad shit and have it nice and clean, ready to do this because of the intent as well. And it's just nice pathway.
Yeah.
Fucking beautiful, mate. That's it. Yes. I would replace the word bad. Let's replace the word bad with something else. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's have a few. Let's have a few. Anybody in the chat? Don Lester, shout out. I'm glancing down here at the chat. I'm not paying attention to the chat, guys, but I love y'all.
Amazing person.
But okay, so let's have a couple of new words that we can alchemize here, because as this works, neurolinguistic programming, NLP, very, very important here. This is where you change out the word busy for productive. When people say, "Oh, what you been doing?" "Oh, I've been busy." No. Busy. You can be busy in a rocking chair, right? That's a lot of time spent doing something. Your ankles may get strong, but that's about all, right? So switching busy to productive, changing bad to, what would you think? So these memories that, put emotional timestamps. Who said that in the chat? I'm going to just real time this. Midwest Night Watchers.
Oh, Midwest, yeah.
So emotional timestamp is exactly that. Now, why you say relive is because you still have something there to live, right? You still have something there to alchemize. There's still energy there. There's still a fire burning. So go put the fire out by your recent interpretation of that, right? And this is where, you just grab that kind of shit and go, man, I didn't know I felt that way about my mom yelling at me about drawing on the wall, but actually it inhibited me for feeling artistic and creative, and then I could share my gift, right? So those kind of things but you just go, oh, but I'm cool with it, right? Go put the fire out. And that's where the emotions are. I recommend crying, guys. Crying is one of the best things ever. I am a fucking crier, dude. I had a dog that passed away 3 years ago. We put this dog down, and he was my little buddy, dude. I saved this thing, and he was with us for like 11 years. Anyway, this dog opened up my emotional, whatever the fuck was in there, that male, whatever, right? That repressed ancestor, whatever. And so just, dude, for 5 days straight, I cried. And it was so much more than this dog, right? Again, it's not, I really do think that the things around you, the things that inspire the emotion, it's not about the thing. It's about what it produces. Again, the wounds forget the scars, right? And the scars forget the wounds, rather. And so, smell's a big one as well. Smell's a huge one. That smells I think, a fascinating one. But so this idea of healing it all is absolutely possible, because then it's literally just the way that you interpret it. It's just how you feel about it now, because now is what's important with it. Yeah. And revisit that stuff, guys. Pluck those little splinters out. Loose Nuke, shout out in the chat. Pluck those little splinters out, and just you don't need psychedelics to do this, by the way. So don't think that psychedelics and taking a drug from some people's perspective is your only route to this. But it's just accessing that.
Yeah. I'll just give you the story of where it began. So it's not for sympathy. This is what happened. So 10 years ago, my mum passed away. It's unexpected, and it absolutely just wrecked me. I found out when I was at work, because my mum was living in the north of England and I'm in the south, and it just tore me to pieces. I was on sleeping tablets. I was up and down going to and from the house, getting everything sorted with my brother and his wife, and it was just ongoing for like 4 weeks, like solid 4 weeks. Ended up packing that job in because of every time I went back to that where I was stood when I got that phone call, it killed me every single time. And that brought out a lot of the emotion of all the other stuff that went on. So over the last 10 years, well, over the first 5 years, that was when it was a big shitstorm, should we say. And that was when everything was just, I didn't want to be me, put it that way.
How long ago was this?
So 2014 she died. So it'll be 10 years this year in November.
So you were about 41 going into 42?
Yeah.
Okay. That's your Pluto square. This is a huge thing in astrology,
right.
But please continue.
Right. So first 5 years, it was just everything was so toxic. But then it started opening me up to see what is like really going on. When you say the bigger picture, it's not the bigger picture of what's going to happen. It's a bigger picture of what is really going on around you. I mean, like full 360, not just like tunnel vision, anything like that. This was like the full shebang. It did get proper gritty and what have you. And the stuff that happened that was just not normal. And then from where that was, I moved away from that and spent a few years on my own. And then I met Beck, whom we've been just over 5 years. And I think the last 3 years, it's been, and this is when we started doing the YouTube channel, really like proper getting into it and doing all the different platforms. That's where it all started kicking in and talking to people like yourself and Dawn and Nicole and Ag and everybody else. There's just so many people to mention that all that was coming in. And then there were certain people that were talking about specific things. It's like I said before with Ag, that's what I was doing, but I didn't know what the actual process was. It was just that I was going through them things. It's like, shit, that's me. That's what I'm doing right now. Right, I need to home in on this and clear, and for me to know, I had to keep doing it for me to know exactly what it was I was doing, for me to have that understanding rather than relying on, say, you, Brandon, for you to tell me, because it's like someone teaching you how to do something. The best thing to do is just get on it and do it yourself and then find out that way. And then you've got a real understanding of it. So put all that into practice. And now it's just things happen. And like I said, all that past emotion because of this, that's probably the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me. All that emotion just got completely wiped. And it's like there's little things that will trigger, and I go back to it, it's like, right, this happened. And now before, it's like you think about it and you get that horrible cringe, embarrassed feeling. And it's
why is it embarrassed? Why does it come up as embarrassed? Why'd you use that word?
Like a therapy session right now.
Because it's so cringy. It's like I really did not. Because it was just awful.
Answer it.
I am.
Dig deep, man. Dig deep.
Because it's like I can't believe I said that or I did that. It's like that was just yeah.
Can't believe you said or did what?
I don't know.
Say it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is a safe place, Andy. This is a safe place.
There's just specific things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm not using it as an excuse, I promise you.
Fair enough.
If I think of something, I'll tell you. I'll say it on air. I'm not bothered about that. But there's these little things. It's like, and I go back to it and then I deal with it. And then once I've dealt with it, and then I can start laughing about it and smiling, then it kind of like just fades away into nothing, like Dawn was saying before in the chat. And then it's like, for me, that's self-healing. So I've been doing that, and it's done that gradually, but you concentrate on one specific time, one specific thing at a time, rather than trying to do everything all in one go. Rather than trying to do everything all in one go, if you concentrate on that and just cleanse it. You cleanse it. Once it's cleansed, it's done. It might pop back up, but then you're like, really? That's pathetic.
It's got no teeth. Yes, you've taken the
there's
fire
no,
out of it.
it can't grip onto you anymore. And that's what I'm going through with everything. I think the last, what we now, August? So since I'd say from the 24-hour live stream, which was January, just after that, so beginning of February, the point that I started at then is where I'm at now. It's like a solid, I was finding it at the beginning of February, and now it's like, it's solid, secure. The structure is not breakable. Do you get what I mean? And that's all I've got. That's the only way I can explain it.
I'm so proud of you, man. This is a heavy realm, dude. And really, what you experienced astrologically, the only reason I have confidence in being that confident in saying it is because I went through it. Literally, I'm turning 42 in a month. A little over a month. I'll be 42. And so my dark night of the soul is what it's called. It's really just your Pluto square. Again, the stars will kind of tell you when the realm's going to get you in your most vulnerables. And it's like the algorithm of you that's running your life, and you're bebopping around. I have this thing going on. I feel this way about myself and my relationship to reality and all the people in it, and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, the algorithm for hope, love, joy, any of that just gets railed down to zero. All of them. They just go, and they turn all that shit off. That's exactly right. You will have then moments in your life that also accompany that shit, dude. Massive changes, right? And this is, and it's funny you said 360 degrees around you. The way that I envision it, it's like in that Doctor Strange movie when she like fucking yeets him out of his body. And what Pluto does is it grabs your etherical body, but you're fully conscious in it, and it gives you a 360. Really what it does is it 90-degree turns you and shows you to yourself, and you look at yourself and you're just like disgusted, dude. It is this great revealing, and but it happens to everybody. This is what the midlife crisis is. Everyone has a Pluto return once in their life. Thank God we don't live longer than 248 years, whatever. But Pluto is a very slow moving planet, and maybe not a planet, maybe, luminary body, whatever your worldview is, and it doesn't matter. But whatever that thing is, definitely affects you, and it's slow. And man, it's blows. But you are on the other side of that thing, and you do have a very strong disposition and way more discernment because of it. We'll work on the embarrassment thing. I love you. And that's the only reason I did it and got you a little embarrassed. Was on purpose.
You know what? It didn't embarrass me. I just, honestly, I couldn't think of anything. But
Fair
with
enough.
you, just quickly, we just saying what you did, like everything dropping to zero, I kind of had to rip myself away from reality. I mean, like proper tear myself away from everyone and everything, what was going on. Just go, right, sort this shit out.
I had a voice in my head for months saying, you are going to kill yourself today. For months. It's not my voice. I'm not suicidal. For months. Hey, you're going to kill yourself today. Just jokingly, right? And there are some deep rabbit holes. And I know that time period comes with some interesting voices, man. And it's fucked. But it is a crucible of fire. And this is where I think the idea of ascension is silly, right? You get baited in with the idea that this is all an ascension process. But really, from my perspective, it's an expansion process, which means you're growing, but also you're expanding in all directions. You get the high highs, but man, those lows, woo, that's some dark shit. And that's where you find your edges, but it is more of this expansion. And so when you say you broke yourself apart, the way I see ascension as a metaphor for anything is, yes, you do ascend up a mountain, and it is a climb, and you will go up these little mountains, but at the top, it's not some like portal or something like that. It's a sheer drop off, and it's another version of you or whatever. And you're like, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, you ready for your next thing? And you're like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And then they push you off. And the point of it is for you to fall. It's terrifying, terrifying, terrifying. And it's not like the leap of faith, which is what it is. It's more of a push. It's more of a shove of faith. It's something just shoves the shit out of you. You fall. And then as you're falling, you're freaking out. And when you hit the ground, because nothing scoops you up like an angel and just hauls you away. No, you hit the fucking ground and you shatter into a million pieces. And then whatever's left over is what you gather up, like the T-1000 in Terminator 2. You kind of pull yourself back together, but there's still a bunch of shit left laying around. But the thing is then you look over and you go, I'll be damned, there's another mountain, but you feel great. And then you will climb that mountain. And guess what? On the top of that one, sheer cliff, shove of faith, break apart. But these times, this astrological time that you went through is a very monumental moment in anybody's life, man.
But when you've done that push faith, when you drop down that cliff face, once you've done it once, you can
do it again.
You can do it again.
Yeah.
You've already been through it.
Yeah. I like the cockiness. I like your confidence because, man, I used to have that kind of confidence with this place, and man, it just really rocked me. It really rocked me this last time. It grabbed that little boy and it
Yeah.
just shattered that kid. It really did. The innocence is fucked off, mate. And dinosaurs aren't real. Space isn't real. Who cares, right? But
Yeah.
it's I'm looking forward to shining the light more. But yeah, no, it's I think the Simpsons said it best when Homer and Bart were having a conversation because Bart had a really bad day. And Bart said, "This is the worst day of my life." And Homer corrected him and said, "The worst day of your life so far."
Yeah.
And I look around at my wonderful life that is not perfect, but my God, it's mine and it's beautiful. And I wouldn't trade a thing for anything else. And there's still a lot to take away, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm humbled by the power of this place to really humble you. But in that, I'm still choosing to remain to shine the light, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Completely get that. Yeah. It's like I have had things thrown, like obstacles and that. And for a moment, I've been like, I'm like just about to start to panic. And it's like, oh no, that's it. I just walk around it.
Oh, it's
I'll go
beautiful.
under.
Just
It's
step
like,
back.
w-
Step back.
And do you have
what would have,
moments? Keep going.
sorry, I was just going to say, what would have took me months, if not years, to try and get my head round, it's like taking minutes. It's minutes now, literally minutes.
That's called an epiphany. And we just sent somebody to the other side of the realm this year called Laurel Erica. And she's amazing. She was on my show. She's wonderful. Yeah. She's a wordsmith. She had wordmagic.com. I hope somebody kept that thing going. She just passed away. But her definition of epiphany is something I will repeat forever. And this is how you also keep people alive, right? Talk about them. And her definition of epiphany is a sudden recognition of the obvious. And let that sink in for a second, because that's a beautiful person who crafts words like to the syllable. A sudden recognition of the obvious. This is where, you realize you're running around the house. Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? Right. And you're just like, they're on my head the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's those type of epiphanies. But then think about this on a massive scale when you're like, oh my God, the government is lying to me. Oh my God, I shouldn't stick anything in my arm from those people or go to any of their doctors. Oh my God, that's the education system. Look at what they're actually teaching, air quotes, which is then you look at the prison, buses and school buses are the same. The lunchrooms are the same. It's a manufactured factory for those are the epiphanies where you just go, oh my God. And then you get past the ego of the I've been lied to and all that kind of stuff. That's a feeling you're gonna need to process it, right? Again, the only way out's through. So just go and process that bitch while you're at it, cry about it and move on. You know what I mean? So it's this, but the place is humbling, man. It's a wild ass place. And I do want to talk cell salts because I know Don's here. So I do have something to talk about with this because again, when we talk healing and health and all that kind of stuff, sin, the literal definition of sin is deficiency. Had a guy on recently, it'll be the next episode out on the channel, a guy named Steve Falconer, who Don Lester connected me with. Shout out, Don. And awesome. This dude is absolutely epic. I mean, absolutely epic. He's what I would consider a really advanced astrotheologist. Do you know what astrotheology is?
No.
It's the two words separately, but not together.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, it's about literally the stars in the Bible. So it's about talking about that the Bible is way more of a literal metaphor and analogies to what's going on in the sky, when to harvest, when to plant, things like this. Health, all of those kind of things can be found in the sky clock above you, which is fascinating. If we're on a ball hurling through space, spinning at satanic increments and sizes, how do they stay in the same place and not move? It's just weird. I don't know. Anyway, but when you look at stuff like that, I think it's absolutely fascinating. So if you guys want, we can talk about a little bit of that. But Nicole, you've been chilling. I want to know what you have to think because we've talked about a lot, dude.
Pick on Nicole.
I'm just having a therapy session right now, okay? I don't want to interrupt the therapy.
You are now.
Well, what you got? You want to dig something up? What you got?
Oh, I got a lot to dig up, but no, this is not the time or place.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Now is the time and place.
I'm just thinking, about what you're saying with the whole healing and going back and that inner child. Do you ever have those moments when you're in the moment and you're making these choices and then you're like, oh shit, this is why I'm doing this?
Yes.
Like that epiphany moment. It's this is obvious why I'm making these choices that I'm making.
So yeah, you catch those loops. Oh, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful, because you get a little higher each time. It's not a circle, it's a spiral. It's an ascending spiral. And you
Hopefully
get a
spiral up
little
and not
clearer.
spiral
I
Yeah, for the hierarchical thing, just spatially, right? Yeah.
but I actually had this conversation today about, like, I'm doing things and not really, I'm doing them subconsciously, but I must knowingly be doing them as well. And then it's like, that's why I did it. I've done it without even realizing that this was going to happen because I knew nothing about that. Something must know that I know this, and it wasn't me. That makes it.
It makes total sense because, like,
Yeah.
I'm making choices lately, and I go back and think, and it just hit me like this week, like, this is why I'm doing this. And
But
it
do you
goes back
find
to
it
that,
funny
like,
though? Do you not just sit there and start laughing like, "Oh my god, this is so
Oh yeah.
wicked.
Every damn
This is
time.
like so cool." Because I never had, like I said, I never had this till about February this year,
Mhm.
and it just seems to be getting stronger and stronger. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the more
Just
people
follow
you
it.
talk to, the more you learn about, like, the whole reasons behind everything, and the more you learn about this realm.
Yeah. It
Reasons
just
are
makes
yours.
me so.
Reasons are up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we said on Wednesday, it makes me the more I learn, the deeper we go down the rabbit holes, the more I laugh and smile. And that's
Yep.
it's just fascinating, but it's like I'm absorbing, I'd say, about 90% of it.
Mhm.
So that it's just that. It's just amazing. I would just wish everyone would do it.
That's that process of
me too.
discovery. That seems to be
Yeah.
what this place is. The fuck around and find out nature of this realm is obvious. And so that's what you talk about. And this is why people go, well, why is it cool if our memories get erased? And I don't, you know, I don't have an argument against the argument. That's a wonderful question because it's one I've screamed, Why do you have to
Yeah.
learn what stinging nettles are every single time you come back in the realm, or that if you fall off a cliff, right? It's just interesting that if it's this sort of a progressive build, but it's an interesting thing also to consider it philosophically, systems perspective, and you can include things like archons, and you can include things like the mud shadows, as Carlos Castaneda called them. And it's just basically, the djinn, anything like this. And I, again, think that this, my own personal sort of look at it, even though I'm not an experiencer, I have no personal experience to talk about it with, but I think it's all one damn thing. I think it's all a fog of sorts that manifests in front of whoever it needs to in the way that it needs to at the time that it needs to direct their path. And I think that it presents itself as scary as shit because I think that this place is part ride, part haunted house. Like nothing is going to, I feel, get ya. Nothing is gonna like, oh, I gotcha. It's gonna scare you, and it's gonna elicit an emotional response out of you, or it's gonna desire one, or entice you to produce one. But it's up to you to then decide that that's what you want. So it's interesting when you think about this place as just sort of an energetic offering. Like, what do you want to offer your energy to? Do we want to sit in front of the TV and bitch about what happened with this dude in the States, and look at it for what it is? Do we want to sit there and say, oh, I've got to vote for that guy now because he got shot? I would really just sort of, look at it. Steve Falconer would tell you that, no, you just cut his right ear, which the cutting of a right ear is the highest initiation into satanic priesthood, and the highest priesthood of satanic order is called a MAGA. So it's just funny when you start putting these things together. But if you don't want your attention to go to those places, you don't have to. Like, I think those are little fish hooks hanging around everywhere. You're going that way. What is your mission? What's your goal? Now, if you're rudderless, if you don't have one, then, just the Cheshire Cat said in Alice in Wonderland, if you, don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And so what that then is perfect. The realm loves that. It's got plenty of direction and plenty of hooks for you to fucking get snagged on if you're not paying attention. But if you are paying attention, then you just decide better. You just, like Nicole's been saying, choose better. And you just move forward without getting caught on those little hooks. And then they start to vanish. You start to get in very open water. They're over there and you can still hear them every now and then, but it's your choice to look over there. It's your choice to go, no, I'm not going to create art or music or talk to a friend that I haven't in a long time, or clean out a closet in my own home and clean my own space, or start taking cell salts like this guy talked about on this podcast here in a minute. And all of those things, it's always your choice, but really you've got to take ownership and recognize it. Yeah.
That was a very good segue.
You did, and it worked. It
Like
works,
that?
and I know it works.
Well, I do know
Yeah.
also that we get questions, and thank you for that. Let me pull a couple things up here. I won't spend much time on this, but this is what I wanted to talk to you all about a little bit. Again, Steve does a wonderful job on this on my next podcast. He also has one on the principles with a guy named Adrian on YouTube. Again, cell salts. You guys can see this. I want to say this is his graphic, actually. Anyway, so what this has to do, can everybody see this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, can you see my mouse on it?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
excellent. Thank you very much. It takes you guys away. StreamYard's just a little different than I'm used to. Okay, so what this has to do with is medical astrology. Now, what's fascinating about this is sin, S-I-N, the word means deficient. Okay, not that you're, like cussing too much. Oh, you're living in sin. No, if you're living in sin, you're living in deficiency. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about this, all 12 of the zodiac, this 12 zodiac here are assigned a body part or a quadrant, right? So Aries is going to control your mind. It's real heady, right? So Taurus, same thing. Gemini, more of your lungs, arms, upper shoulders, things like this, which is 2. So you get the pairs and things like that. So whenever you look at this, though, and assign a body part, what's fascinating about medical everything, and Dawn Lester, thank you guys. Check out her book, What Really Makes You Ill. Absolutely awesome.
Yes.
What things like this offer you the opportunity to ask is the medical industry benefiting you? And one thing that when you come across information like this, you could say, well, I've never been asked that question at a doctor's office. And this is maybe where you start to make new choices, right? If your doctor has never asked you your sign or said, hey, you were born as a Virgo. And what happens in the womb is that you have 12 base salts that your whole body functions on to rebuild itself and to heal itself. And if it's in deficiency, it's living in sin, because then everything is out of whack. Okay. Now, these things we used to get from our food, but because they've stripped our food of all the shit, we don't. Now, I am a Virgo. Okay. I have a sensitive tum-tum here. My mom is a Virgo. She just had surgery on her tum-tum here. I know a lot of people who, if you're a Virgo and there's 12 people eating the same thing, I'm the only one that will get sick off of it. I'm a particular eater because of this. Virgo. Okay. Now, what this also means is that in the womb, as you are gestating here, these 12 salts are released throughout the year. Okay. But you were deficient in, I'm a Virgo. Okay. So I was deficient in my sign and the next 3, because in the womb, I didn't get those. Okay. Now, what this causes is these issues potentially. Now, what this means inherently is that my body is functioning on less of these base salts that make my body heal itself out the gate. Okay. We come straight out the gate deficient. This is why you are born with sin. Okay. So with this prospect here, what we then can say is you find your sign. Okay. Andy, what's your sign?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Beautiful. So is my wife. I've got a lot of, and you, Nicole? Holy shit. I have so many Aquariuses in my life. I'm a Virgo. We actually get along great, right? Okay. This all makes sense. Okay. So now if you just using these as a reference, guys, you don't have to believe in astrology. You don't have to believe in any of this shit. But just if you use this as a map, then really what's your birthday? Nicole, what's your birthday?
February 6th.
Okay, so you're beginning. So you actually, you're pretty good. I think that you're good. You may take a little bit of the Taurus's sign, which is number. I have a guide here actually because I've been talking about this so much. I think it's number Kellium falsicorum. Okay, so personal story here, real quick, and then we'll get to questions. But I, as a Virgo, have had issues with poison ivy. Okay, and then a little bit of eczema lately around my waistband, because it's hot as shit in Texas or whatever, and I'm always outside. We have a ranch, right? So today, before I was doing this, I was out back cutting this huge tree down and shit. Anyway, so we're outside, we're doing stuff. But I get poison ivy if my neighbor 3 properties over is mowing it and it blows in on the wind. Now, I have a sensitive skin in that regard. Had it my whole life. When we first moved out to the property about 9 years ago, I ended up in the not the emergency clinic, but the like quick go to and like get a quick shot thing. For the first 3 years, I got steroid shots. Yeah, a little walk-in thing. I got steroid shots for the first 3 years and was on all this shit. But come to find out, I am deficient in these salts right here inherently. Now, the number 3 right here, one that I'm already deficient in or born with sin in. This one is called calcium sulfuricum, and it sounds like a Harry Potter spell, and I love that. It's easy to remember for me. But the very first thing that this cures is skin disorders. Okay, skin disorders, and then spots. You have pimples, slow healing wounds. Okay, now I heal like Wolverine. Anybody will tell you that. But the skin irritation thing from poison ivy, absolutely. My wife and I end up getting all 12 base salts in, okay? Because again, we are different. She is an Aquarius, but she was born in the middle. No. She was born the first part of February, so she takes like 6 of these things because of her location within her sign. I was born right in the middle. So, right, I only need the 3. So whenever you look at this, this is what I am personally deficient in. Now, you will look at this. This is why medical astrologers or astrologers later on will tell you exactly what health problems you have. It's based off of this chart right here. It's easy.
Right.
If you are deficient in these things and no one has ever told you about this, or you're not naturally getting this from your food, which none of us are anymore, then you are deficient in these things and they have obvious implications that are easy to quantify. So something I recommend is start taking these 12 salts. Okay, you can get all 12. There's a company that makes them. They're tiny little pebbles. They look like airsoft pebbles, but babies of airsoft pellets. They're very small and they're sugar coated. Just take 3 or however many, look into it, but it's just salts. It's a supplement. This shit will change your life. I got poison ivy a week ago. Instead of running and getting a steroid shot, instead of putting all this cream on it and shit, I went to my jar, found number 3, calcium sulfuricum, started taking it, 3 pills in the morning, and not pills, but they're little tabs of salt. So you put them underneath your tongue and let them go in intravenous, like through your blood system is what you want, straight to the dome. And you just let them do that. I did that 3 pills in the morning, 3 pills a day for 3 days. Shit cleared up. Never itched, never had to run to a clinic, never anything. Dude, this has changed my fucking life right here. So I recommend looking into cell salts. And one of the things is this Salts of Salvation, a book called Salts of Salvation.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. So there you go, guys. That's my rant on that. It's skimming the surface. Steve does a way better job. Don can tell you all about it. And it is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. It is, like I said, changed our lives because now your body is rebuilding itself. All kinds of cool shit.
Yeah. But did you realize what you just did? You just did the 3 freeze.
The 3 threes.
So
The
we're
3
doing the synchronicity with the numbers.
Yes.
3 pills, 3 days. 3
Oh yes, exactly. And we've been sending each other in our message chat here when we see triple threes. Yeah, exactly. So that's the requirement.
Left out. The universe better start sending me some 3s. Let's just hear 1s.
Yeah. I'll send a load of I'll just text you a load of frees later.
All right.
Yeah, we'll just place them in your reality if you want it.
Yeah.
All right.
But yes, Don Lester, who's got it in the chat there. The book is The Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation. Highly recommend this thing.
Thank you, Don.
And again, Steve Falconer could not recommend following his channel Space Busters on YouTube enough, following Don Lester on Instagram enough. I don't know how much time you guys have or if you have any more questions or what you want to do, but I'm having a great time. This is awesome.
Well, we've got
chats in. Let's do it.
At least half an hour, unless I get summoned to hell.
Let's go.
Right. So, do you do the 3 questions? Free questions.
3 questions. Only 3? Come on, guys.
3 again, Nicole.
It makes sense, right?
Exactly.
Or is this another symbol in?
No, that's safe. That's safe. Yeah. Right. So this is from Louis Sneaks.
Shout out. He's a buddy. Outstanding author, by the way. Outstanding author.
Excellent. Ooh, he might be a good guest. Just saying. Anyway.
Dude, I'm going to pause you here. Louis Nukes is a phenomenal guest. He has done these presentations where he goes in and finds the esoteric qualities in movies. He's done, I want to say, he's done Harry Potter. We're working on Dark City right now. He's got a part 2 coming up. They're on the channel. And then he's done Wizard of Oz. God, so many Peter Pan. And he has full presentations that he does. And he has these entire esoteric breakdowns. Dude, Philosopher's Stone Planet all up in Disney shit. It's absolutely fascinating. The guy is an amazing human.
Oh, you know how much I love Disney. I want to talk about that.
This is what I'm saying, dude. He will break down any movie. You give him any movie, he shoots from the hip with it. You give him any movie you want, give him a month, and he'll come back with the most amazing esoteric presentation about the symbolism within.
There you
go.
Right,
Louis, let's do it.
That's there. Right. Anyway, question. So, if we think that everything is part of the universe, universal mind or God, then are we all? Then what we call aliens simply a different form of us, or are they something else entirely? Forgot how to speak then, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the thing, right? Is if we think that everything is part of a universal mind, but I've been having a real challenge with this whole God demon. Is it real at all? I think that everything here you need to subscribe to make it real in your life. But when you subscribe to it, it's going to come with conditions, just like anything, right? It's a contract, I think, that you engage in with your energy, and you say,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'm going to do this." Now, I think that to the answer of what aliens are, to the people who just see it streaming across the sky, it changes people's lives sometimes. And this is why also I think that 3 people will be standing there, 2 will point out a UFO, what they're calling a UFO, and they'll both see
Yeah.
something, a point of light. One will see it a little bit different, and that's very interesting. But let's say that those 2 people say the same damn thing. A third person will be standing there as if it's completely not there. In the beginning of Holographic Universe, Michael Talbot has a story about a watch, a hypnotist holding a watch up behind a daughter of a guy that he just hypnotized, a doctor. And she had inscribed an incision on the back, an inscription on the back of the watch, and he holds it behind his daughter, like solid person. And the guy reads it because he hypnotized his dad not to see the daughter at all. How does
Right.
this shit happen? So if this is possible within the realm that we call whatever we're experiencing here, I think one of the biggest tricks played on us is that we're all in a realm that's the same, or that it has sort of a collective consequence. And that's a tricky topic to engage in, because then you get really, it challenges some emotional maturity levels there and things like this, because this is where we get into NPCs. This is where we get into that you can't say that anything outside of your experience is happening at all. And then in that case, to the question there, I would think that aliens or whatever are in the experience of the people who experience it for a very specific reason. Again, it's a redirect. It shoots you in a very new direction. The story about the guy in Stephenville, Texas, out here. I forget his name. He was a mustache model for sure, but he lived out in Stephenville, Texas, saw 2008, the thing that flew over there, widely reported, changed his entire life, ended up getting divorced, ended up all of this stuff, right? And just researching the shit out of what this thing is because it made such an impact on him. But when people like me hear about it, I've never had an experience like that. Okay. It's not that I'm saying that I'm never going to and blah, 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 not open to it, whatever. I just haven't. So what I'm doing is, from an observer perspective, taking the word, or taking the experience, rather, the interpretation of reality of somebody else that did have an experience. Now, when I look at that at a macro level, I can see a fascinating system, because you could see the effect it has. It's, oh, okay. It's like people watching from a distance. You're just like, oh, wow, this person did that. And oh, yeah, this guy didn't throw it in the trash, but this guy came and picked it up and it was really cute. You can see where at this macro level, this interaction changed this person's life. But you can also see where that's apprehended in a certain way, which can make you kind of question the benevolence of the energy. And I think it's all up to you. I think it's going to take you 2 levels you need, but it's also going to take you as far as it wants, until you stand up and say, this is not what I want anymore. And so to the people who get the voice of God in their head, and then everything's nice, and they started donating to charity, and they really started working out and getting healthier, and then the voice told them to kill their kids in the bathtub, and they do it, right? So it's this thing. It gives you an opportunity to say there may be something fascinating about this realm. I don't think it's relegated only to aliens, or what we call aliens. I think, again, it's all a thing. Mandela effect's absolutely in this category, right? It just shows you that this realm is far more manipulatable than you've been presented. But I think everything that you're presented here is inverted. So that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That answer your question, Lewis?
Yeah. I reckon.
There you go.
We'll find out. All right. Next question. From Lewis again. What part do psychedelics play in objective reality?
Showing you there's probably not one. There you go.
That's it.
That's my answer. It makes you question the shit out of it, honestly. Because you're like, hang on, that thing is moving right there. You don't see that? No, I don't see that. But how come you can see it and I don't? But you're on psychedelics as well. Yeah, I'm seeing it, but I'm not seeing what you're seeing. But it's the same thing. It's objective in our reality. Yeah, but we're not experiencing it the same way. So then you would say, is your perception creating your reality? And I would say, yes, your experience of a situation creates your reality. That's what stamps those little trauma stamps, splinter things in your hypersensitive states there, is because that's its job. That's what it does. And so to then to say then that this is an objective place, but we all experience it differently, is probably way more accurate. But again, the experience of it makes it everything. So I would say objective reality is very on the chopping block. Questionable for me.
Yeah. So, like you just said, that even without the psychedelics, our reality is not the same. Mine's not the same as Nicole's. Nicole's not the same as yours. So, regardless of whether you're taking anything or not, what you're seeing and what you're experiencing isn't going to be happening to the person stood right beside you.
So, do we all live in the same place?
Nope. Not
I mean,
about. Not.
That's
Well,
also
we
an
do.
interpretive call, right? Well,
We
do we?
but
Right?
Today's
we
reality
do
is
and we don't. As I heard a bit ago, and I love it. It's like we're all the main character in our own movie, and everyone else is an extra.
Yeah.
I mean, the Truman Show kind of idea. Yeah. This I mean, it's solipsism at that level, right? Because then it means that something is in cahoots with the parts of you playing you, so that you have an experience, right? And it's all guided and directed, and very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. There you go.
Love this dude. I'm telling you guys, go check Lewis out. He's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
100% going to.
Yeah. Right. Nicole, you can do this one because I can't read big words.
Oh, I want you to try to say that word.
All right. How is DMT different to Ayahuasca? Ayahuasca. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. It just didn't seem right.
It's okay. I know it looks different, right? Yeah, because it's South American, so ayahuasca.
Yeah. Got you.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I would say that it's different in. Okay. The way that I can relate it to a lot of people is drinking. Okay, so when you drink tequila, you get a certain type of drunk, right? Tequila has a certain egregorical feel to me. It has this quality. Same thing with wine, same thing with beer. Beer's like a dude, bro. You know, you get just a state. So it's not the same altered state, right? Even though you're consuming the same fermented, barley, wheat, and all that. So in that regard, I would say that the variance between types of psychedelics and how they affect your body. I mean, even cannabis, smoking it versus eating a gummy is very different. Your body processes it through the kidneys then, and so it's just entirely different when you eat it. So the same with ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is fascinating in that it is referred to as grandmother or the mother, some people say, but grandmother ayahuasca is just revered as this ancient entity spirit that is in these combined plants. It's a Syrian root and then something else. And the plants told the indigenous people how to mix this, and they put it together, and then they, create this property. And the deal with DMT is that your stomach already has a natural deterrent to it. It seems as though God or whatever doesn't want you fucking with it. And it knows that maybe it's a spirit out there that's trying to do you harm. And so it gives you imeo inhibitors in your stomach. Now, what happens when you combine the two plants, rather than just taking ayahuasca by itself because your body will reject it, you combine it with a second root, which then offers you the imeo inhibitor that you need to counteract the stomach acids to allow your body to absorb it. So what you're doing is you're inherently creating a cocktail with ayahuasca specifically that you are tricking your body into receiving and then taking that ride on. Now, when this occurs, when I took ayahuasca, it was very interesting. That's a whole story, and we can do that. But to my point here, what occurs is that you then go through a very psychedelic change. It is a very chemical alteration. It is a flushing of all things. So come empty is what they say, right? You can vomit and shit yourself. I didn't shit myself, which was really nice. But it's just part of the thing. Like, you just bring extra clothes, and I did. I brought extra underwear. I was like, cool, yeah, it's part of the ride. I'll do it, right? And I'm healing, mom, kind of thing. But anyway, it's an interesting process in that way, but the effect is very different. So it's real gentle, but it's very happening, and everybody has a different experience. Okay, so if you have something that's on a complete opposite realm continent, say Africa, which is Ibogaine, that's more of a grandfather spirit. That's real harsh. That's what gets you. That's what they put on people to get them over addictions like heroin and really anything. Ibogaine, iboga is what the manufactured term for it is, because it's synthetic. There's synthetic versions or what's available. Then you have that experience, and that's a much more jarring. That's instead of like, think of grandma, how she would kind of explain something to you. And then think of like a grandpa who has like a belt, and like just yanks you and just says, all right, motherfucker, we're doing this now. Your grandma tried, but we're doing this. That's sort of the energies of it. Okay, well then fair enough. She might be more of the iboga, yeah. But with that, then I think again, it's a characteristic, it's an archetype. And I think that it's fascinating when people relegate gods to like Zeus and he's on high, or God's way over there or something like that. I think that you could physically interact with these archetypes here in the form of altered states, depending on what type of altered state you take. This is also going to very much depend on the two most important things, which is set and setting. Where are you at? What's your mindset, right? Where are you at physically? Where are you at here in your mind? Those two things are highly important. But it's tricky to kind of go into something wanting to heal trauma, knowing that it's going to trigger trauma and go into that easy, right? So again, it's a ride. And I think what psychedelics offer you also is a resilience that's not afforded to people who have not experienced something that intense. And what I mean by that is that there's no off switch. So when you're in there, it can be intense and you can be having a bad time or whatever, and there's no kicking and screaming your way out. There's no shitting yourself enough to where you get out. You'll dehydrate a little quicker, and then you'll drink something and puke that up, and then you hate that. And so there's just an experience to be had with it. But it's very therapeutic and very healing to grab you and yank the things out of you that you really haven't dealt with, or that you really need to take a look at. And in that way, I would say that it's not far off from a demonic possession or anything else, that it really grabs you, alters your state enough to throw you into a state that you don't normally interact with. That's an altered state, right? And so from that baseline, you get into that hypersensitivity, you deal with shit, it brings it up, you purge it, and then you move on. Now, I think that there's a trade-off that can occur with that as well, as a cautionary. I think it's possible that what you are also ingesting kind of stays with you, and you take it for a ride, and it may have its own motives, and maybe 20 years down the line, it decides to cash in a favor or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what, this thing about trusting. Now it wants me to kill my kids, kind of like, who knows what's being planted in anyone when they're interacting with something, but your body naturally rejects it. You have to really fight to get it in there, or combine the right things that aren't inherently, because the plants that they combined were thousands of miles. They were not close. It wasn't an obvious thing at first. And so it's just really interesting that you can get whispers from this stuff. And Chris Matthew and I, again, just had this amazing conversation about how, it might be an entity like psychedelics. But it might be more of a parasitic entity, to where as you ingest these things, they are going to alter your consciousness. But what if they stick around? What if they burrow into your, let's say, pineal gland, and you just gave them access like a vampire? They had to be invited into you. You gave them access to your temple, and then now they sort of call the shots in a way. And they're not going to do it straight at first. It's not going to ruin your life right away. But I don't think that that's an inevitability. I just think that it may be something to consider as well for long-term use. I think that getting rid of stuff in that way and yanking it out and purging it, man, is highly valuable. Highly valuable. It makes you ask some interesting questions about this place at the same time while you heal.
Yeah.
DMT, by the way, is fucking crazy. There's two different kinds, 5-MeO, and then you have the toad, and then a bark. All of it's, by the way, DMT. Ayahuasca is also DMT. DMT is, same thing. DMT is androgynous in most living things. So when you die, your body releases DMT. That's what they think that this afterlife thing is. And yes, 5-MeO had Dr. Rick Strassman on. He wrote, God damn it, God Particle? No. He wrote DMT, the Spirit Molecule. And he was talking about this. He was in government program putting people under sustained DMT trips, and they were coming back like saying, "No, I was making relationship with the world." So now it's sort of a psyop movement that they are going into this realm, altering their consciousness to step into a realm, and then probably exploit it for resources and overthrow its government, something like that, right? But it's interesting when you start considering again that these are realms, they're entities that you actually are taking on and imbibing in, and it's going to kind of take you for this fascinating ride, but it's going to shake you up. It's going to allow you to release. That's the most valuable part about it. So if you don't let your head get like, I'm being possessed and it's going to stick with me forever, just clear the shit out, purge, cry, shit yourself. It's all good. You need to. So
yeah, I've heard about the toad one. That there was a podcast I listened to a while ago, and they literally just lick the back of this toad, and then within something like 20 minutes, you are living a completely different life, all inside your head, that can last what you believe is years. Yet when you come back out, you've only gone like 30, 40 minutes or so.
Which is also...
Who decided to lick a toad?
Somebody Somebody
there's a lot of interesting people around this realm. I don't know.
who
I mean, think
decided
about
to
it.
milk a cow. That's what I want to know.
Good point.
We had neighbors at our old place that did a lot of meth, probably, and they would do what we would call cracktivities, and they would be like out in the middle of their mowing their lawn at like 10 o'clock at night with an electric mower and like running over the cable and then going and getting another one, running over that, and so they would hit on the piece of metal with a hammer, not a good hammer, not building anything, just beating on it, right? So people just do weird stuff, cane toads, Adam Sanders says, but. DMT was awesome. I will say that one of the most interesting experiences psychedelic-wise I had was DMT. Salvia is bizarre. Rick Strassman thought the same thing. It's
done that.
Yeah, bizarre, right? So
It
that
didn't
one's
really have that crazy of an effect on me. Like I know people who have done it and started like tripping balls, but
Did you see anything? Did your vision hear,
Nope.
auditory, anything? Interesting.
nothing. I
I
think
know what I'm doing soon.
So it's hard for me to like get into it and just let go because anytime something starts to happen, my brain goes, no, that's not really happening. And I like logic my way out of things. Like when I got stuck in that time loop, it was the worst thing because I couldn't get out of it, but I knew that I was in it because I ate an edible.
Oh, you had Groundhog Day edible?
I was at a fair. I was at a county fair, which is probably the worst place to eat an edible. And I had one and it didn't do anything. So I said I ain't no bitch and I had another one. And I got stuck in a time loop and we did the same thing over and over and over again. But my brain knew that it was because of the edible. And I was just trying to logically like get myself out of it. I couldn't even enjoy it.
Wow. I quickly talking about edibles. I know a guy who got a packet of 3 and they're quite big, like the big jelly ones. Yeah. He ate one, nothing happened for 20 minutes, so he ate the other 2. 4 days later,
You fool.
4 days. 4 days gone.
When I had Tommy Chong on, that's what I asked him. Have you ever been too high? And he was like, oh, God, yeah, man. God, yeah, man. He was like, one time I was in Colorado for this photo shoot thing. Right before it, this guy gave me a gummy. He said, I ate half of it in about 45 minutes, didn't feel anything, so I ate the other half. He goes, and the next thing I know, the people were parading around me, sitting next to me on a couch. It was like Weekend at Bernie's. He was just laying there, and people were taking pictures next to him. So same thing, yeah. Even Tommy Chong says, watch out for the the damn gummies there. They can hit you, yeah.
And then it hits you.
You just got to know your shit. That's all. I love it. I'll pop the 50s and walk around. I love those gummies. Yeah. But cannabis and me get along great. It affects everybody differently.
The scariest part of my time loop, though, was thinking, like, I know that if I have enough adrenaline in my system, it'll sober me up like that.
I would say the clowns would be the scariest part. You shouldn't have worn clowns.
All right, I need to, like, injure myself. But then also knowing I am way too high to
deal
not
with it.
injure myself to a degree where it's dangerous. So I didn't do that. But like that's how my brain works on drugs.
Do you not just lie on the floor and wait for it to pass?
No,
no matter where you are, just lie down.
Not lay
Everybody carry cones and just put 4 little cones around you and just it'll be all right.
You just lie down. Lie down. Lie down in the recovery position and just stay there. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, fetal.
Just like he's so
good. I'm gonna have like a babysitter next time and be like, no, if I get in a time loop, just put the cones out.
With like orange flashing lights around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hopefully my family never watches the show because they don't need to know all.
You hope. I forgot. This one is going to be the first one going out on podcast, actually.
Oh, cool. The audio only platform?
Yes.
Very cool. What are you guys doing? Who are you using for your aggregate?
Podbean.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, because they do Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, everyone. So I've used them before, but it wasn't the right time to do it. And now, new chapter, blah, 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 start as of today.
This is the first one?
This is going to be the first one.
Welcome, audio only audience. Make sure you check out the video version link down in the show notes so you can see how beautiful these people are.
There you go.
That's why we keep them around.
You can come on every week. Yeah. So yeah, So welcome. I'm Andy. This is
I'm
Nicole,
Nicole.
and this is our guest Brandon.
Hi.
Brandon Thomas,
So-
Expanding Reality.
All that.
yes, and check out his YouTube channel. Awesome.
So we're going
Absolutely.
on audio podcast. We were on TikTok. Are you still on TikTok?
Still on TikTok.
Indeed.
They
Yeah.
gave me a couple of restrictions because of the topic.
What?
Of this?
Yeah,
What?
you didn't get hit with the restrictions for talking about psychedelics.
I
Oh,
just
yeah, you got-
Expanding Reality. Did not
TikTok's a
mention-
whole world. You have to put code in, like real code. You can't say what it is and then I know. No hashtag psychedelics. That'll get you. Yeah, you got to put like
No.
pictures of mushrooms and then like wink, wink, like little. There's a whole language on TikTok to get
That
around
was-
that kind of shit.
That
Yeah,
was why
you
the
have to say
picture.
like cute and like unalived and all that because you're gonna get banned if you say the real words.
I just
Right.
wrote Alienate UK Expanding Reality because
Well,
then they'd hear that Brandon's on and
Talking
know. No, you don't tell them nothing.
It
It's like
hears
re-
it.
Just
Heard
no,
us
you just
talking about
drop
it.
the thing. Don't say shit. Drop
Yeah,
it
it's
like
like-
a grenade in a room and shut the door and
Like
walk
when you're
out.
14
That's
and
it.
you tell your
Yeah.
parents, I'm going drinking cider in the park.
Well,
don't
you know
do
what
it,
it
you
is,
just
Nicole.
go.
This is a safe place.
Psychedelic.
This
They
is a
just
safe
hide it.
place to learn and grow, and we're all learning
Yeah.
and growing together. And I love this. This is awesome. But there is a whole language to TikTok. We will have a call and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
It's easy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You just don't talk about anything cool outright. That's it.
Right? Teach
No.
me how to talk like a TikToker.
Dude, it's insane. I've been on there for a minute. I had a silly video go viral at 18 million plays that I did on a construction site or something like that. And it was a lot of fun. But yeah, TikTok is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
it's different.
I learned the coolest shit on there, like the most practical shit ever in like a 2-second video. They'll show you that you've been using your salt dispenser wrong. And they're absolutely correct. Like
Life
it's
hack.
insane.
TikTok is the best for like therapy because
Life
you
hacks.
won't even be talking about something. You'll just be thinking about it, and it'll start showing you all these videos like, "Hey, you're doing this because of this." I'm like, "Oh shit, I am."
And then I end up buying these things.
All right, utilizing the common sense, man. I just love it. I think it's fascinating. And I've connected with the coolest people on TikTok, like the coolest damn people. And so those folks who just shun these type of things, technology or otherwise, I'm like, nah, alchemize, don't shun. Use it how you want.
Well, the
Not
thing is,
evil.
I've got quite a big, it's about 12, just over 1,200 followers on TikTok. So I do need to start using it more because I'm getting
Live your
people
life.
coming on like every week, and I'm like, I'm not giving anything.
Yeah. Well, we had some viewers and some comments. Daryl was in there. Daryl
Oh,
the Paraman.
I've got it landscape, so I've got to do that
You gotta do
just to
it
try and read it because it doesn't. I can't when it's portrait. It doesn't quite fit everything in. So,
I
but
had
anyway.
studio going and I had it sharing the screen, so it was sharing all of this.
Oh, cool. How have you done that?
Because I'm fancy schmancy.
But you're restricted.
I can be fancy schmancy and restricted.
Life
These are not
finds a
really-
way.
Yes, yes. She just walked around the obstacle, just stepped
Shout out
over it.
JoJo for just crushing this moderator thing here.
Yeah,
Yes. Awesome.
she's getting good. She's
It's
getting good.
great. Yeah.
There we go. Pop that on there.
Boom. Shout out. There you go. Yeah, you want to check that out. We also have the it's YouTube. It's all the podcast platforms. There's so many, dude. There's like 40 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Used
we're
to
just on
use-
all of them.
Yeah, I used to use Castbox. That's like Android version of Apple Podcast. And yeah, it's just I think now's the right time. You can get fake Crocs on TikTok. Don't bother. If you're gonna get Crocs, get the real things.
Are you a croc
Well, we appreciate
aficionado?
I wasn't.
You're a convert? You're a new croc convert?
I have fake Crocs from Aldi. They were
Yeah.
$6.
Nice.
I've got the where have I put them? Give me 1 minute.
You're making him go whip out his Crocs. He's got the dad Crocs.
How was your thing in Gettysburg?
It was amazing. You should try to get out there next year.
Dude,
It
I
is
would love that. Did you see any like timestamps? Did you hear any cannonballs and like see soldiers and shit like that?
we investigated. It's called Slider Farm. It's like an old farmhouse on the battlefield overlooking Devil's Den, and we actually got a lot of activity.
What do you mean by activity?
Like we got EVPs, we got stuff setting off the equipment. A couple people got touched.
Like Michael Jackson touch?
No, not. I mean, that's at the parties after the bash.
So what do they ask to be touched and then they're touched, or does it just touch?
No, we were
See,
sitting
I'm
there in the barn,
ugh.
and it just goes like that to them.
What if his little raccoon he didn't see, and he was just like, what's that?
If there was a raccoon, I would have seen it.
He's fucking taking
I
it
love
home and
it.
adored it. I know.
I would have.
Ready?
I think it's interesting.
Anyway, less
Jojo
about
throwing shade on the Crocs in the chat there. Good lord.
less about the
I-
paranormal. You ready?
Let's see it. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with them. They're utilitarian. They're comfortable. I'd say live your life. I think it's interesting when they were making the movie Idiocracy that the costume designer was like, how are we going to find shoes for a bunch of futuristic retards? And they said, there's this new company that's coming out that's barely anything yet. And it was Crocs. So all the people in that movie, all the Doordoys have Crocs on. And that's why they caught on, actually.
I was so against them up till about 3 months ago, and I just needed footwear for if I've got to run to the car and it's raining, and I'm not sitting there tying a pair of sneakers or trainers, or I'm not putting socks on for them to get soaked. I need to slip some on, go out, get what I need to get, come back. So that's what I did.
I say live your life, dude. Absolutely live it. JoJo's going to call him fugly, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I went camping and I was wearing Crocs, and I didn't realize I was wearing Crocs and did not bring any other shoes. So I had to wear Crocs the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And you were the most comfortable motherfucker there, I bet.
No, because I looked like a weirdo with my hot pink Crocs.
Man, y'all got to get over the way people see you. Dude, that's your next goal. Just wear
forget
only Crocs and actually wear them on your hands and clap them as you walk through somewhere. Just something wild, dude. Live your life, man. Who gives a shit?
That
They're
is
all
not my
NPCs
life.
anyway,
That's actually
probably.
your life.
Man, I have this fart maker. I've told you guys about this, right? I didn't break this thing out last time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hang on. I got it.
Yeah.
A bunch of SPDs right now. Hang on. You get the idea. Anyway, carry one of these around in your pocket and set one of those things off as you walk around the store in your Crocs.
But I just say I don't actually need a fake one. That's all I'm gonna say.
You got it on command? Dude, that's awesome.
Frame
That's
up.
why mine's not as reliable. So yeah.
Yeah.
Just troll
So-
this place,
I do.
Girls don't do that.
I have little tricks that I do, like if I'm getting
They
out of an
definitely do.
elevator. As the elevator is approaching the floor that I'm getting out of, and I'm
Yeah.
not getting back in it,
Tank it and walk out. Absolutely.
2 seconds,
Absolutely.
doors open, gone.
Suddenly,
I'm
you know
not
what?
getting in the elevator with you,
Some people see the stairs as more appealing, and now you're making people healthier.
Oh,
Way to go, Andy.
Yes.
There you go. I'm taking the stairs.
But what you need to do is middle of the stairs, not the bottom, not the top, right bang in the center, because everyone's got to walk through it.
I would say actually just do it on elevators so that people just think that people are farting in elevators so much that they're just going to use the stairs forever. And then they love it. And then they lose weight. And then they start living their life a little bit better. All because somebody fake farted perhaps in an elevator. And that's the other thing. Think about the change that would affect even in this silly scenario. But it could absolutely happen. And the fart wasn't real. Think about that. So what we've just displayed here is that you can apprehend somebody in your reality with something absolutely fake. And then they will change their entire life about it. Now, scale that up. Think about anything else in your life that you are presupposing is absolutely certain because of X, Y, and Z, because this person said it, because these amount of people are saying it. Anything you want, insert it there and think of it just as some damn fake fart that is floating out in the wind that you've got to decide that you're scared of or not.
Yeah, I can go with that.
God.
Definitely. Right, we do have a couple more questions.
Bring it.
So this is
Are
from
they
Derek.
about Crocs parts?
No, neither. I don't know.
We'll take all of it. I've got a queef on the here. Yeah.
Question for Brandon. If one is a targeted individual and has handlers, how would someone get past it and defeat this?
So with things like this, again, I'm not an experiencer in this, but what I do know is about sovereignty. And what I think occurs in this place is if you feel that you are targeted, then there's a mental adjustment that needs to occur. I think that things like that are indicators that you've got something deep within you that you really need to get over the fear of. And I think that whenever you do this, these things etherically sort of clap for you, and then they move on about your life. If you could prove that you are being targeted, then I would be, I mean, if you feel like going the step of your personal safety, I would figure out, how to protect myself while walking around or whatever. I would get to the bottom of it, but not in a paranoid way. I would really get to the bottom of why do I feel that way? Because there's indicators that make you believe that. And if that's the case, and it's not just paranoia, then really address it, and find out what's going on with that. But if you are being targeted by the government, then there's really not shit you can do about it, I suppose, but change your attitude. So, like I said, I would just protect myself best I can, and change the way that I feel about it. I would flip them off. I would do the robot. I would do weird stuff on the phone in front of the camera. I know my friend, I got a buddy who says that he feels that the CIA is watching him when he takes shits and he's on his phone. So instead of looking at anything, he just stares at the camera while he's shitting, and he does it because he thinks that he's trolling the CIA people staring at him. So I would say, honestly, that would be the approach to take, because there's a lightness to this place that once you invite that in, something even as seemingly scary as being tracked down by governments or a targeted individual or something like that. I think we're all targeted if you really want to say it in that language, but I don't think that it's through a victim mentality lens. I think that we're all targeted to be better, and that things in our life that are air quotes targeting us are motivating us to be better, ask better questions, make better choices. And so in that way, I would say that you are targeted for love, my friend, because you're only in the crosshairs of exceptionalism because you're exceptional. So just keep moving forward, keep doing what you're doing, and don't let it shake your resolve. Remain unstoppable. That's what I would say.
Cool. Thank you. Next question. I'll let you do this one, Nicole. From Derek.
From Derek, has Brandon had any experience with machine elves, and can he explain?
Yeah, so I wouldn't call them machine elves because I wouldn't know what to call them. I would say that there are some entities. They mostly look like jesters. Jesters. Am I saying that right? Gestures. Gestures. It's real close to them. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
There it is. The things with the bells on their head, the goofies. It mostly looked like that, and clowns and shit like that, which again, whenever you look into the symbolism of clowns and that makeup, it's actually a demon, an entity. And so it makes you really question a lot of things. Now, when I was in that trip, it was fascinating because it's a quick turnaround, which I like that. Ayahuasca is a commitment, dude. Acid's a commitment. You're there for a long time, and it takes you quite a while for your body to sort of replenish all that it purged out, right? Because the point is to purge, but it also takes a lot of nutrients, and it takes a lot out of you to have that experience, to get into that hypersensitivity state and to maintain it. Because if you think about it, when you're scared or something like that, you go, and then you can kind of work yourself back down. But you're intentionally maintaining this open channel to this hypersensitivity. So in that way, it feels like that there was entities there. I know Terrence McKenna called them machine elves. A lot of people have referred to them as that. And I could see some sort of mechanistic quality to their movements. And so in that way, I would regard them as machine-like or mechanistic or animatronic. But as far as going elves, I wouldn't do that. But what I will say is that what I interacted with was a few different types of beings.
Yeah.
Essentially, the quick version, I suppose, is did I tell you about my DMT trip last time? I can't remember, honestly. I don't want to be redundant.
I think
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
well then never mind. But there were a few different things in there that I flew through, some weird tunnels and things. And then these grandmothers were like, give me Reiki. My legs were physically shaking in the places where I felt the entity was in my body. It's an interesting thing, but I wouldn't say machine elves. I would say something fascinating and definitely an intelligence. And it felt very happy to see me. That's what I would say as well.
Cool.
But machine elves is such a cute little name for them.
Yeah,
Machine elves.
And it's an accurate description if I could say that I saw, but what's your definition of elf, right? Do elves have little face paint on them that sometimes look like clowns, or would you then call those clowns? Would you call them honestly, I can't remember. I don't know. I wasn't thinking ears. I was like, because then again, this is what I'm talking about with your RES and objective reality. I may have had the same exact trip as everybody. Maybe the trips are all the same for everyone. It's just everybody interprets it so radically differently, even from trip to trip, from you to you, from your experience, even on the same psychedelic, whatever. I think that these really show you what you're paying attention to. And so if I wasn't looking at ears, but I was concerned or noted their mechanistic style foldy type movements, then yeah, I mean, some people would say machine elves, right? Gremlins is interesting as well. And I think it's really one of these. Have you ever seen, I mean, we've all seen it now, but AI, where it'll have like a dog or something, and then it'll morph into an iguana, and then it'll morph into a giraffe, and then it'll morph into, it's kind of like that, to where things are so fluid that it's hard to say that's what that is, because those things change into shit. What once was an entity is now like a sword. And then what once was like a horse riding around is now 7 things that are working on a project. And it's like a cloud. It's like watching a cloud. And when you it'll alter as you look at it long enough, but it's always in motion, and it's always, you know, kinetic. And that's what I will say about that environment. It's kinetic. Everything is moving around. It's what the scientists say you can't see at a micro level here is happening, right? All the atoms are, oh, this rock is just a rock, but it's all moving around real quick. You just can't see it, right? It feels like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it feels like that. But there are like entities there, is what it feels like also. So I don't know.
Cool.
Great question though.
Thank you. Right, one last question, because we are at like nearly 1 hour 40. It's good. I could sit here all night, but I know I'm going to get summoned very, very soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is from Lewis again. Oh, this is for you, Nicole. Have you heard the story of Paul Stamets and the camera?
I have not. I don't know who Paul Stamets is.
Mushroom guy. He's been on Joe Rogan quite a bit. He's the guy wearing the mushroom hat, the hat made out of mushrooms. He's fantastic. He has a fascinating, I don't know about this camera story, and maybe it's the same one, but it's when he's lost his stutter. Was he used to stutter real bad. And he took a bunch of mushrooms one day and was out on a walk, and then climbed to the top of the tallest tree he could find. I want to say it was in Oregon or Washington, something like that. And as he was at the top of this tree, starts peeking his ass off, right? Tripping his ass off on these mushrooms. And then he sees a storm rolling in. And as the storm's rolling in, he is getting more scared, because he's up here in this thing and he has nowhere to go. And he's in the top of a tree in a big storm, right? Lightning and whatnot. So he ends up being up there as the storm rolls through. He is holding onto the top of this tree for dear life. It's just swaying and swaying and swaying, pelting him with rain, all of this crazy shit. And he said something to the effect of, to God or to something, that if he gets out of it, it'll change or something like that. And he kept saying one thing over and over and over again. Apologies, I'm not recalling it correctly, but over and over and over again, he kept repeating something. And then by the time he got out of that tree, he was stutter free. So a mushroom trip in a storm caused this guy to hop into some psychedelic state, hypersensitivity, where he was able to access the part of him that made him repeat words in certain stuttered phrases, and remove them with a repetitious phrase that he articulated through that, climbed out of the tree, and he was a different dude. I mean, there's so many metaphors of this where you've got people climbing mountains. I mean, Moses is one of these things. And allegedly that burning bush was acacia. So it was a psychedelic. I want to say it was acacia or ayahuasca. Either way, Moses allegedly was tripping. That's why he saw what he saw. But either way, psychedelic experiences happen in these states, right? Yeah. So I want to say it's the acacia because that's what was indigenous to that area. But either way, yes, fascinating.
Yeah,
I think that's it. But check out the camera story. I'm not sure which one he's talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna look that up as soon as we get off here and see what that camera story is.
So he describes a bad trip on incredibly dangerous mushroom, and you'll see what he's referring to. Yep. I mean, it's not, and it's sort of being normalized now, and I think that's on purpose. I think the things that you are meant to pay attention to and in your face and very obvious are done to offer you an opportunity, and that's what I'll say about it. You'll find whatever that means for you, and just have your North Star, right? You know, just have a North Star and just keep following that. And you know, this is again a good time in the realm to take social media breaks because shit's getting wild, but also to really declare where you want to go. If you find you are a rudderless boat, craft a rudder. You know, get a direction going. And that simply is a decision. You just say, I'm going to move in this direction, and anything that comes to distract me, because it's inevitable, it will. I'm just not going to take them up on the offer of distraction, and just choose better. And that's basically what it is. I would definitely look into this cell salts though. Look up the thing that I was talking about. Start there. Like physically, this alters you because salts are electromagnetic. You are electromagnetic. You're electromagnetic being, and what this does is physically tunes your body up to be way more resilient, heal itself, all these kinds of things. So this is really what I think should be on the next of everybody's radar, is getting their salts dialed in and looking at that. And just like I said, even the base 12 taking those 3 times a day, do the 3-3-3, 3 pills a day, 3 times. All right. And it will absolutely change your life. So a lot of cool things to look forward to, folks. Just like I said, Pluto's dancing back with Capricorn before it goes into Aquarius for the next 20 years, which will be the tits. But before that, it's going to be the challenge. So just keep your shit about you and don't take things personally and remain unstoppable. Keep moving forward. You guys are fucking awesome.
You too. I'm just going to share this. I didn't know they were actually numbered.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a whole chart that comes along with this thing. This is the biometric chart that we have. We got this from Biochemic. And what this does is it shows you all the salts on the rating there, and they are numbered. And then, that number will correspond. So you can see in that chart there, if you go down to number 3, that is the calcium sulfuricum that I talked about. And if you look at it, it is right here, number 3. And if you could see that, what's the top say? Or read, rather.
On yours,
Yeah.
Skin disorders.
That's right. Calcium sulfuricum. And what this little number, next to this means, because they all say times 6, is this is how many times it's been distilled or refined down to its purest form, 6 times. So they take these salts and they're all found within you. These are natural shit. And so it's also interesting when they're like, don't salt your food, or the salt that they offer you is this really bleached out, refined, iodine removed, and all this nasty shit. So highly recommend this, guys. This would be a wonderful rabbit hole for you guys to go down. And I'll connect you with Steve, dude. Steve should come on here and do a presentation for you guys. He is phenomenal.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I was just reading about Aquarius, and it's
right. Okay, so funny. I'm reading about Aquarius too, and it says foods containing this salt includes peaches. You know what I'm going to tomorrow? A peach festival.
See,
mine on this one that I've got. It says sodium chloride said to be good for regulating the water supply throughout the body, affecting climatization and how hot or how cold we are, regardless of the temperature. It can be -10 outside. I'll be in shorts and a t-shirt because I'm roasting.
Is it one of the salts you're deficient in? Based on your chart. Well, what's the number? We can look it up. What's the number? Check your chart. So you're in Aquarius. What number is that salt? I bet it's 4, 6, or 11.
I can't see.
9, 4, 6, or 11.
Sodium chloride. Hold
on. No. Well, that's
sodium chloride.
It's calcium chloride.
It's number 9.
Yeah, there you go. Number 9. See, so that is your Aquarius salt. That's your base salt. That's the one that you were denied in the womb.
Yes.
So if you start supplementing that salt, brother,
1, 2, 3.
Your body temperature regulation, allegedly, if that's something that you're noting, will be your control for this, right? That's what you'll know you've rebalanced once you get this.
I know we bought some yesterday.
There you go. Here's your sign to go ahead and pull the trigger on that, dude. And you don't need all 12 individually. Now we spot treat with all 12 individually. So I would recommend it. Like I think the whole box is like $80 for like an insane supply. Biochemic is what we got. It's all on Amazon. I know Don has been throwing links for this kind of stuff in the chat as well. And this is our spot treatment one, but we do have just a 12 one that we take every other day now. For the first week, we took it 3 times a day, every day. And now we feel phenomenal, so we just take it every other.
I'm gonna look into this.
Dude,
I have so
it's
much
insane.
stuff to look into when we get off here.
It's insane. If you just reach out, I'll send you some resource links. Just reach out.
Yeah.
Dude, it's fascinating. It's been one of the biggest game changers because it's everything, right? Now you're talking on a cellular level. You are rebuilding your tissues, flushing out shit that shouldn't be there without you even having to think about it. Like you're just performing the way that you want. So Don has in the chat here, don't get ordinary salt, Andy. You need to get the tissue salts. That is correct. There is a specific type. Yeah, don't get just like Celtic sea salt and just start taking it by the fistful going, this might be better. It's not. Just get the individual ones. They are tissue salts. I will send you a link.
All right,
awesome. Thank you.
That was supposed to be a horrible impression, by the way. That's not how I think you sound.
I think sometimes
that is how he sounds
like that. Not as croaky as that, but yeah. Right. Just before we go, I have got 2 updates. So the first one is going to be doing another 24-hour podcast.
When?
No, I'm looking at November the 1st. So half 8 Friday till 8:30 Saturday, UK time, 3:30 your time, 2:30 your time. It's going to be all either 4 or 5 of the different podcasts, so it's going to be a little bit of everything, just going round and round. So I was going to hopefully get different types of guests in and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to give you a teaser now. You're gonna love me or hate me or a bit of both. So I'm doing something else. I just have to buy a couple of things, and then I'm doing another paranormal trip. So I'm going to be out and about, but it's going to be. I say it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be so different. It's just going to be different surroundings, different environment. I can't wait to do it. I'm so excited to do it. I'll tell you guys when we come off air, but I'm not sorry. I'm not telling anyone else.
No spoilers.
But
Nice
it's
tease,
just-
though. Good Lord. Now I've got to know.
But do you know, I'm going to be out and about, put it that way. And it's going to be places that.
He's just going to keep going and he's going to tell the whole thing.
No, it's places that you
What's it
can't
close to?
I'm
Is
gonna
it
say
Rendlesham Forest?
It's going to be at different parts of the UK, but it's
Okay.
going to be places that you cannot access that easily.
Hmm.
And I don't think anyone's done this before. So I'm physically going to be out doing shit, and I cannot wait. I've got everything. I know exactly what I need. I know where it's going to go. I know how it's going to go. And yeah, that's it. So cannot wait. Cannot wait. It's just one of them. So massive thank you again, Brandon. Absolute legend. You really, really are. And
Yes.
it's just
It's
great
special.
talking to you.
Yeah.
It's a buzz, it's the energy, it's the madness of it all. But it's so good and it makes so much sense. It's like at first, when you first come on, it's like my head was just like splintered everywhere. It was in all over the place. And then as I started to get my head around what you were saying, and I was looking into stuff, and it's like I cannot wait for you to come back on again.
Yeah.
And then today it was like I get everything what you're saying now. I actually understand all of it.
I have no clue what's going on. None whatsoever. I think this is
I
a
don't know
shit
what's
show.
going
It
on.
could-
I understand
I think
what
it's
not.
crazy, and
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful what you said. Though, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast, and this is just where I'm at right now. And
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that this is a place of temporary truths. And each time we talk, I'll be in a different place, man. Last time I was pretty I was still in the shit kind of when we spoke. I was still really in a dark place,
Yeah.
and so I wasn't as light. And you'll see it on this one. I'm much lighter. I feel great.
Yeah.
I would say that several things changed. Dawn Lester came physically to our home, and her presence, I think, unlocked something here. She was a delight to spend a few days with. So thank you, Dawn. And then also this organite piece that she gave me from kimbo.com. I've got them coming up into next month. And then there's just been some changes. I think the cell salts was a big one. That was a big one. And as Felix, shout out as well, Felix in the chat there read, get the 12 combo. That is a wonderful place to start. I would do that and see if what you're talking about in your sign anyway corrects, because it may just be slightly off, dude. But I can guarantee it's quite a bit. It'll change you quite a bit just by this one thing. And it's not
Cool.
super expensive. So that's the problem with it, is that you can heal yourself for fuck all. And the medical industry is not a big fan of that, which is why you should do it even more, right?
Yes.
You
Hell
know what
yeah.
the best
I
bit
work
is?
for the pharmaceutical
We
industry,
both,
so
There you go.
listen-
And do they mention cell salts and that you have 12 of them and that you are deficient in them and that it's based on your sign? And that's never taught in the medical industry?
no.
The people that
you
are out there curing people, right? Health?
No, we just treat the symptoms and then that gives you more symptoms and then we treat the symptoms of that.
God, at least you've got it. You know, you nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
and
Please
I
don't
work
fire
in the medical
You should
industry
just
as
whisper
well.
to what would be funny now is, Nicole, is if you go on this rant where you like buy a bunch of these cell salts, right? Just individual packets, and we'll get you sponsored. We'll get some sent to you so that you have a plethora of these. And then as you give the people the prescription, say, okay, before you take this, do me a favor and take this for 3 days, you know, instruct them or whatever under the tongue. They're sugar coated. You'll love it. And then throw that in the bag too. And I bet you, man, imagine a world like that where you gave the alternative, where you said, look, you can take these pills, or you could take these and just under your tongue 3 times a day, 3 pills, and that's it. And then it'll cure pretty much anything you fucking have. Like, what? I mean, how many people would actually do that? It'd be an interesting sort of study. I mean, all of us have this option with the empowerment of wisdom, right? And so now that you guys have been empowered with the rabbit hole, go take a look. I'm living proof that we have been doing it. Not only the 12 combo, but I've spot treated something that was very specific to me and have noticed a massive difference. Massive difference. That's all I can report on, right?
Yep. No, that's cool. Right, I am going to have to end it now.
All right, yeah.
This
Let's
is
go.
You're gonna have to cut us off, Andy.
You
Thank y'all
cannot.
so much.
You can't go till I tell you, because hopefully you're
All
going to love this as much as I am. Right,
Play
everyone,
that
we're going to go. We are back on Wednesday with Eerie Encounters. We are going to be talking about Inner Earth, or Middle Earth, as Joe likes to call it, because she's very
Middle
Games of Thrones.
We're gonna go to the Hobbits.
Yes, we could. Well, my feet, we could anyway. Yeah, so we're talking Inner Earth, Antarctica, all that stuff. Yeah, so we're gonna go there. Anyone want to send any of their encounters in? They can do, so we can split it into 2 halves. I've got 2 already. You can email me at andy@alienate.uk. You can either send a video, a voice note, or just your standard email, but up to about 2 minutes, no more than that. And then we are back on next Friday with Drew Banky, part 2, and then the following Friday, Dawn and Brandon. So psychedelic August is what we're going to call it, because that is all we're talking about.
Psycho, not August. I love it.
Right, so have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and see you next week. Take care and goodbye.